We have Jihad Watch on the show every week. Robert Spencer joins us, and I'm always candid with you. We had a whole bunch of subjects lined up. There's always a lot to talk about when it comes to this subject in this context, but we will now speak about one issue, and my golly, it's so important because it's not even about Islam as such. It's about basic freedom of speech, because Robert Spencer has been banned from entering the country of my birth, the United Kingdom, I suppose because he's such a danger to British society. Robert, welcome to you. You're always welcome here. You'll never be banned on Sun News or The Arena. Tell us what happened.
Well, Michael, I was working here in my office earlier today when there came a knock on the door and a package from the British consulate with this letter saying that the Home Office had determined that your presence here is not conducive to the public good. And the Home Secretary has reached this decision because you have brought yourself within the scope of the list of unacceptable behaviors by making statements that may foster hatred. Now, you know what's really remarkable is that they give me an example of a statement that I've made that may foster hatred. And it's Islam is a religion and a belief system that mandates warfare against unbelievers for the purpose of establishing a societal model that is absolutely incompatible with Western society. Now, Michael, that's just true. I'm sorry if the Home Secretary would prefer to pretend that it's something hateful that I'm saying, but Islam is a political system, as many Muslims will tell you. It is a system completely incompatible with Western freedom of speech in that it forbids criticism of Islam. It forbids the equality of rights of women with men and the equality of rights of non-Muslims with Muslims. These are the principles against which I'm fighting. There are many Muslims who oppose the imposition of Islamic law in the West for precisely the same reason. Are they hateful as well? It's a remarkable and ridiculous decision, really. And while I find their political correctness amusing, at the same time, of course, they have capitulated in this to Islamic supremacists and fascist imperatives that are only going to spell trouble for Britain in the long run.
What you've said can be supported by many examples and much evidence, but even if people have a problem with it, this is why I become very angry. If people have a problem with it, okay, they can argue with you and you're always open to debate, but you've been banned from a country that fought fascism for 6 years. You've been banned from a country that opens its doors to all sorts of refugees, a country that's prided itself on accepting, a country, by the way, that allows into it across its borders Islamic fundamentalists who've spread the most vile venom time and time again. This is a conservative government in Britain. The Home Secretary decides there must have been pressure. There's no other explanation. Who is it? Is it Theresa May, the Home Secretary?
Yes, Theresa May.
Okay.
That's right.
Very ambitious woman, wants to be party leader. I don't think she ever will be. Her politics tend to move all over the place depending on where she thinks the popularity is within the Conservative Party. But someone must have applied enormous pressure on her and the Home Office to try and make this happen.
Well, Hope Not Hate, which is a left-fascist organization that's clear foe of the freedom of speech, they started a petition drive. Now, what's interesting is that they did not release the names of the signers, but they claimed to have 20,000 signatures. Since we didn't see them, I don't know. They might have had 5 signatures. But in any case, they did bring pressure. Also, I think it's noteworthy that Mohammed al-Arisi, who is an Islamic cleric who has preached jihad warfare, Jew hatred, and wife beating, was just admitted into London last week with no trouble whatsoever.
This is incredible. Now, are you the only person who's been banned? Is Pamela Geller banned as well?
Yeah, Pamela Geller and I were both going. We were going to lay a wreath at a memorial for Lee Rigby, the British soldier who was beheaded by an Islamic jihadi on a street in Woolwich, May 22nd. And we were going to go and just lay a wreath at a memorial for him. That was it. But that apparently is threatening to British authorities in a way that advocating Jew hatred and wife beating is not.
Mm-hmm. Now, you know, I haven't lived in Britain for, 25 years, but I visit at least once a year. It's the country of my birth. I'm British as well as Canadian. I know that this decision does not represent the views of the vast majority of British people. I simply know that.
Well, I can see that myself, Michael. On Twitter today, there's really been a gratifying avalanche of support from people who are in Britain who recognize how monstrously outrageous and ridiculous this decision is, and how there's an amazing double standard in terms of the coddling of genuine hate preachers and the accusation that we are somehow the equivalent of them for preaching the freedom of speech and equality of rights for all people. It's nice to see that there are so many people in England who are getting it, and I think this decision actually is going to wake up more to how supine the government is there in the face of jihad terror and Islamic supremacy.
Now, you've traveled quite extensively, haven't you?
Oh, yes. I was actually just in London in 2009, so it's 4 years now, but I was there not all that long ago.
Right. Any other country you've visited, has there been any sort of problem?
No, I've never had trouble. I spoke in Canada, actually, last spring, I believe it was, and was questioned extensively at the border, but ultimately let in. And I was never given any indication as to why the questioning was happening. It may have just been a random thing. Yeah. I'm scheduled to speak there again in the near future, and so it'll be interesting to see if I'm allowed into your lovely country at this point.
Well, I think you will be. Pamela Geller spoke here, and there was an issue with a synagogue. Now, it was a fairly esoteric issue, I think, and there were nuances. I think it was a wrong decision, but there was never any intention of banning her from the country.
That's good.
You were in Scandinavia, I think, not so long ago.
Yeah, I was in Stockholm in Sweden last summer. We had a rally there, and there was no trouble there. As a matter of fact, the police were wonderful.
Exactly.
There was a large group of leftists who were clearly clamoring for blood, and they would have torn us limb from limb. But the police cordoned off the area. They had it ringed around with police vehicles, and there were police on horseback and so on. I mean, it shows, who the fascist thugs really are, that we needed that kind of protection. But the Swedish authorities were very good.
Well, this is the point. There are those who disapprove of what you say, of what I said, what all sorts of people say. And that's their right, but it's also their obligation, their duty to allow you to speak, and that this should happen in the UK. I mean, I know Britain extremely well, and Prince Charles just the other day mentioned the rising tide of anti-Semitism. He was talking about the retirement of the chief rabbi, who was a beloved figure by many in the UK. And Prince Charles was not referring to, well, let's be quite frank here, he wasn't referring to the Anglo-Celtic peoples of Britain suddenly disliking Jews. Anti-Semitism is an Islamic issue in Britain. Attacks on gay people in the streets. Who do you think is responsible for that? Acts of terrorism that have been taking place. Yet you have never preached violence in your life, as far as I know, who often simply quote the Quran. You've been banned. I just hope and pray, and I think this will not be the end of this. I think we're going to hear lots of questions asked in very high places. Perhaps this will be rescinded.
Well, I hope you're right, Michael. I hope that, but I think that, Nick Lowell of Hope Not Hate accused me of delusions of grandeur for saying this. Understand, I'm not saying because Pamela Geller and I were banned, Britain is in trouble. It's just a symptom of how much Britain is in trouble and how much the freedom of speech is threatened, and there's so much capitulation to Islamic supremacism. Yeah. That's why Britain's in trouble. I hope that they'll be able to turn it around and hope that this will be the occasion for that.
All righty. You're a good man, and you will never be, as I said at the top of the show, you will never, ever be banned from here. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.